U.S. stock index futures edged higher ahead of manufacturing PMI data, with focus also on U.S. labor market numbers later in the week that will be passed for cues on the Federal Reserve's monetary policy path. AI chip firm Nvidia shared 2.8% in pre-market trading after choppy trade last week, along with some weakness in other semiconductor stocks. U.S. mega caps such as Alphabet, Microsoft and Amazon.com were slightly up. The JSE is trading slightly higher at this hour, with the all-share index up 1% at 79,707 points. Commodities gold is trading at $2,335 and platinum $982 per ounce, while a barrel of Brent crude will cost you $85.55 a barrel. The rand 18.11 cents to the dollar, 22 rand 95 to the pound and 19 rand 46 to the euro. To give us perspective on the latest when it comes to the markets, we are joined by Patrick Mathidi, who is the head of Equities at Aluwani Capital. Patrick, thank you so much for your day. So we have this announcement that we've all been waiting for. We got it last night. What do you make of the local market performance following this new GNU cabinet?
Yeah, so the announcement came last night, a little bit late, given what the markets were looking for, sometime last week. But still, nevertheless, there is an element of certainty that the market was looking for. So if you look at the last few days, weeks, especially post the signature of the GNU, the markets were very, very, very skittish. Initially up, on the back of that signature in terms of the parties who are now form part of the GNU, but then the delays in announcing the cabinet, that caused the markets to be very nervous. We saw the sell-off on Thursday when reports started coming out, of the fractures within the GNU, with some other parties, threatening to walk away and not getting what they wanted. So we did see the rand, at about 1840 or so, with the equity market selling off about 1%, and same as the bond market. But by Friday, we recovered somewhat with some prospects that indeed the parties are finding each other, and with an imminent announcement of the cabinet, which has since come through last night.
What do you make then of this new cabinet? And I suppose from an investor such as yourself, what do you think the true test of this cabinet will be?
Look, I think, the good of it, if you look at it, optically, you have a nice, mix, from a skills point of view. So you've got sort of the older hand, the experienced guys, have a nice blend with the youth. You have also, from a gender parity point of view, females coming through, which I think is very, very important. So from a representation point of view, I think it's good. It reflects the demographics of the country. I think from the bad side of it, it is fairly bloated. You can't run away from that fact. It's 32 ministers. You add on the president and his deputy, plus a whopping 44 deputies, right? In some ministries, you've got 2 deputies. So I think that becomes a bit of a worry in that, is this a cabinet that is fit for purpose, or is this a cabinet that is there for political expediency point of view? And then secondly, from an investor point of view, then the second concern becomes, given this, hastily put together cabinet, will the guys be able to work together, given that they're coming from different angles, or is this likely to cause a logjam with prospects of a breakdown, at some point, in the near distant future? So I think those are the key concerns that the market is looking at. As far as some of the ministers are concerned, I don't think there's anything in particular that jumps out. I suppose perhaps if you look at agriculture, where you've got the leader of the DA being the minister, and then he's paired with a deputy from the PAC. So those are very divergent, let's say, political views when it comes to agriculture. So then the question becomes, will they be able to work together and be effective? But if you look at other ministries, I think it's a bit of a mismatch, with a lot more still to be seen in terms of how the guys will work together going forward. But overall, I think it's a good cabinet that has been announced. No real surprises, especially when you look at the economic cluster. But I think the bigger question still remains, will these guys be able to work together for the benefit of the country? Or is this a cabinet that has been put together just to placate some of the political players?
Okay, so let's talk about Rainbow Chicken, for instance. I mean, they listed last week on the 26th, and today's the official unbundling of it from July 1st. What do you make of Rainbow as a business, and I suppose also the poultry sector?
Look, they've kind of been on the JSE a few years back and then got delisted, and now they're coming back. So they're coming through from the RAM growth table, where RAM growth made it clear, I think earlier in the year, that as part of their refocus and strategy, they'll be unbundling, let's say, non-core assets. So Rainbow Chicken is one of those. Look, the sector has been very difficult. If you look at other players in the sector, the likes of Astral, for example, if you're not self-sufficient in terms of water, in terms of electricity, you do battle, just given some of the service delivery concerns that the likes of Astral have actually put forward. But also, it's a sector that every now and then continues to be plagued by things like avian flu, bird flu, and the likes, with very little support or compensation from the government. But over and above that, we are seeing a lot of cheap imports still coming through, despite some tariffs. And that is coming into a market that is highly saturated, where the consumer is not the strongest in terms of being able to afford some of these protein sources like chicken. So it's a tough environment to be in, but I guess the main difference will come through from management in terms of the ability to navigate through these difficult times.
So on Friday, we received PCE data coming out of the US. What do you think we're getting out of here when it comes to the narrative around inflation?
I think the narrative is still intact, as in the next move in interest rates globally, especially from the US, is lower. So we have seen other large central bankers having cut, the Bank of Canada, the BOE, and the ECB. So it's a matter of time before the Fed also starts to cut. The bigger question clearly is it going to be Fed September, or is it going to be December? So it remains to be seen, but the news flow thus far suggests that indeed that U.S. economy is cooling down without, showing signs of a recession. So there is therefore good, sort of evidence for the Fed to start cutting. I think the bigger question, though, that has since come out over the weekend, above the economic data, is the politics. That has got the potential to can upset that glide path towards rate cuts, especially if you have a change in the ruling party away from the Democrats into the Republicans, where we do know that if the Republicans come on through, especially led by Trump, he is likely to print money, which could be inflationary. So from the Fed point of view, present the challenge as in you start cutting in December, and then have to kind of hike again in Q1 2025. So we'll have to see how the politics can play out. But I think the Fed will watch the data as they have, but I don't think they can completely ignore the politics as and when it unfolds.
All right, Patrick, let's leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. That is Patrick Mathidi, who's the head of equities at Aluwani Capital, talking to us about the latest when it comes to the markets.